and welcome to IDD Talks here at ADA University. My name is Anastasia Lavrina and I welcome you at the first Azerbaijan-UK Policy Dialogue. Now I am joined by a very distinguished guest, Mr. Markus Gehring, Professor of European and International Law, University of Cambridge. Warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for us to host you. And let me start with a simple question. What do you think about this policy dialogue, its importance from the legal perspectives?
I think it's incredibly important and it's very timely because I think for the longest time, the collaboration between the United Kingdom and Azerbaijan was very much focused on just the economy. And more, we are realizing that there are other parts to the economy, especially the service sector, where we can collaborate, right? I work in legal education, and of course, the education collaboration is becoming much more important. Azerbaijan has really invested heavily in educating students in English. And that means there's a tremendous opportunity for collaboration in the education sector. And I hope eventually also with professional services, with the legal sector.
Yes, indeed. That's a very important point you made during the first panel discussion, legal education that can be added to the sphere of cooperation between the United Kingdom and Azerbaijan. More in details, how do you see this process and which particular sphere should be involved there?
So I'm a professor of European and international law, and for me, legal education needs to be very much based in the country, right? So you wouldn't want a UK lawyer tell an Azerbaijani lawyer what the law should be. No, it needs to be collaborative. And especially on the legal education side, when it comes to international law, I also work in sustainable development, there are very many synergies that could be explored, where maybe UK approaches and Azerbaijani approaches could come together and you could develop joint educational programming in the different countries. I know a lot of your graduates, especially here at IDD University, are looking to English-speaking countries, and the UK is certainly a really good destination for graduate education. But more and more, we are also looking for collaboration with universities in countries like Azerbaijan. And I think the legal educational sector is always the last to be internationalized, right? So if you're in the natural sciences or engineering, most of global education is already integrated. They're working together across borders, across countries. We're only just starting that process in law. But when we organized the legal conference alongside the COP29 on climate change last year, we realized that some of our approaches on administrative law, on constitutional law, on environmental law are actually very similar across the two countries. And so greater collaboration, I think, could be the result of this policy dialogue.
I know that you have an extensive experience on work in climate change law and sustainable development, and you also participated at COP29 held here in Baku, Azerbaijan last year. What role do you see the international legal framework can play supporting Azerbaijan's green vision and energy transition?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think we sometimes see in this very uncertain, somewhat turbulent world that international law is slightly under pressure. But I think over the long term, and the international legal frameworks can really give stability for major transitioning slowly away from fossil fuels. And you want to do that with a secure international legal framework. right? You want your students to know much more about what the future might look like. And that can involve AI, artificial intelligence. It can also involve sustainable development, the Sustainable Development Goals, and climate change, right? We saw, I think, every host country, to a certain extent, of the COP becomes a champion for climate change, for just highlighting how important that transition is for the world. And that's where the UK and Azerbaijan are actually very similar, right? The UK is a fossil fuel producing country, and it's trying to move away from some of the fossil fuels. And so can share experiences, but can also maybe learn from some of the approaches here, right? So, for example, we heard at Climate Law and Governance Day that agriculture that reduces water consumption is being practiced in Azerbaijan. And it's not something the UK is not yet doing. So exchanging ideas, really coming together as partners, could be the way forward. And
green energy transition, that's another sphere where two countries can work more intensively in the upcoming months, right?
absolutely, right? And in many ways, you need stable legal frameworks for that at the domestic level, but also at the regional and international level, because you want to transition to a greener economy, right? And that transition requires the law, it requires participants, it requires education for everyone who's involved. And I think that's where I think the two countries could learn from each other, right? No country has the silver bullet, but we're all learning how to deal with these processes. And so exchanging best practices, exchanging the best science could actually advance both countries. And that's why this dialogue is so exciting.
Sir, thank you. Thank you so much for joining our program today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.